Okay, so I have started this time with my NYC project, which previously had this Roscoe the dog character in there. If I press play, and he has a bunch of his own little animation states. So he has like an idle, an up, down, left, and right animation. And that's all just set up from a sprite sheet that I downloaded and sliced up and chopped into a bunch of different animations. So if you want to recap how to do that, you can look at the previous video. And I basically just now started this same process for this Lucky the cat character. So exactly the same. I have a sprite sheet which I downloaded from Spriter's resource to do very similar things to what the dog sprite sheet was doing. And I just went ahead and set that up with its own animation controller. So if I go over to the animator, you can see that the cat has, goes into its idle state, but it has a bunch of up, down, left, right animations. So what I'm going to do as a first step is, what I actually want to aim towards is, so you'll recall that Roscoe the dog, as I said, moves up, down, left, and right according to key presses, the arrow keys more specifically. What I'd want to do is to map Lucky the cat to the WASD keys, so I want her to do the same things. Now, this is where I want to show reusing a component on multiple different game objects. If there's multiple game objects which you need to have exhibiting the same behavior, it makes sense to write your script in a way where you can sort of generalize some of the things that are common between them and use that script as components on the different game objects. What do I mean by that? Well, so I have this dog movement script, and what I want to do with dog movement is actually switch this up so that it's, I'm going to rename it to animal movement for one thing, so I can put it on the cat as well. But more specifically, so if I go into the dog movement script, you can see that right now what it does is that it maps the right, left, down, and up arrow keys specifically. What I want to do to sort of adapt this as a first step, so I want to reuse the same script no matter if I'm, so for when it's for the dog, it's using these up, down, left, right arrow keys. But for the cat, I want it to be the WASD keys. So what I'm going to do is replace, in the script, I want to specifically, because let me just show you what I mean by this. So if I reapply the same component to, if I stop this, I can technically reapply this to the Lucky the cat game object. So if I go and add dog movement here, Lucky the cat would also move according to the up, down, left, and right. So what I want to say is in each specific version, is in on these different components, I want to be able to say, no, actually the key to use in this case are the WASD keys, and the keys to use in this case for the dog are the up, down, left, and right arrow keys. To show you what I mean by that, what I'm going to do is I can see that this input.getKey is looking for a specific key right now, right? So if we start with the right arrow key, I want this to, I want it to be the right arrow only when it's the dog, but for the cat, I want it to be the D key. So actually, these are all key code types. So you see this Unity engine.keycode, and these are all enums, and I'll come back to what I mean by that a little bit later. But for now, so I have this variable here for speed, which actually I can set these differently in the inspector for the cat and for the dog. So I'll do that at some point. But for now, what I'm going to do is say public key code, and then I'm going to write up, down, left, right. And this is actually the same, so I could have actually just written it out long. So I could have been like key code up, public key code down, and then public key code left and right, and so on and so forth, to just, be more efficient and write more, write nicer looking code. I just wrote it this way instead. But, what these are all separate little variables here. So I'm going to save that a second. And then basically with this input.getKey, I want to switch this up so that it's, instead of key code right arrow, I'm just looking for whatever this right parameter is set to. So for the dog, it will be the right arrow key, and for the cat, it will be the D key. But we'll set that in the inspector in a minute. For now, I'm going to go ahead and say right, left, and then down. And then up. Oh, I realized I'm getting an error here because I deleted the entire input.get key, which I didn't want because I want it to still know that it's getting a key, but the key it's getting is being defined by this property up here. And we'll fix that in a second. So, and then this will be up. And there we go. So now that's in here. I've got too many. There we go. So now that's ready. I'm going to go back to the inspector, and what you'll see is I'm going to fix it for the dog at first. So here we go. This is what I wanted to see. So in the inspector, as you can see over here, it is looking for us to define, okay, well, what keys should be mapped to these up, down, left, and right. So for the up, I'm going to go in here and I can just scroll through this list, or just to be, I can see it right here. So up arrow should be that one. This one should be down arrow. This one should be left arrow. And this one should be right arrow. There we go. So now if I play this, it should just maintain the same behavior that I was already seeing, right? So yes, it does. That's all good. And then what I'm going to do is take this same dog movement script and apply it to the cat as well. And at some point I'll rename it, but oh, I already applied it just now, didn't I? So for the cat, what I actually want to happen is that if I'm pressing the W key, that's when I want it to be up. For the down key is if I'm pressing S. There it is, S. For the left key, it should be A. I'm gonna just scroll through the list and find the right one. There we go, the A key, and for the right, it'll be the D key. Down arrow. There we go. So this won't be quite right just yet, and I'll show you exactly why it's not quite right just yet, but let me just play this. So now if I move Roscoe the dog, it's up, down, left, right. If I move Lucky the cat, she does move, but she's not firing the correct animations. And that's because within the animation controller, her animations actually have different names. So I'm actually going to just make sure that within the animation controller itself, she has all the same names that we're expecting. So so we're looking for walk right, walk left, walk down, walk up, and idle. So let me go into the cat animation controller. And so one thing to note is that there's actually a difference between file names and the animation name. So for the reason of not having file names which are the same, I actually appended the word cat to the ones which are for the cat animation controller. I can tidy that up some more, of course, but you can see in here, so like for the dog ones, it's just walk down, walk left, walk right, walk up, because I did those first. Once it got to making the cat ones, I added cat to the front. But the shortest way to fix this is to just go into the animation controller itself. And so I can say, instead of like, and you can actually see here what I've done to illustrate the difference between the name of the animation state in the controller versus the file name it uses. You can see that actually for the cat idle animation, I just reused the cat walking down animation, just slowed down. That's all I did. But instead of cat idle, I'm actually just going to call it idle. And then walk up is just going to be walk up. Oops. Walk left is going to be walk left. Walk down is just going to be walk down. And walk right is just going to be walk right. Cool. So now these all should have the same names as the ones in the dog animation controller. So hopefully, if I do this, there we go. We've got all the animations firing as intended. So this is kind of turning into this weird two-player cat and dog game, but that's what we're aiming towards. So let's keep going with this. Okay, so now we have these cat and dog moving around independently using different keys, even though they use the same script. That hopefully points to how you can reuse scripts and write them in such a way, like we did with ours here, where we can have it apply to a bunch of different contexts. This is a road we'll keep going down. We'll look later at something called inheritance, and but for now, what I'm going to do is rename this dog movement, and I'm going to actually rename it to animal movement because I want to keep it general. So I've renamed that to animal movement. I'm actually going to make sure that I'm also renaming it on the file name, and that the name change also went ahead and applied to the game objects. And you can see here, actually, no, it messed up, but that's fine. We can fix it. So what I'm going to do is, instead of dog movement, what I'm going to do, oh, actually, no. So this is some live just troubleshooting here. So you can see one of the problems is that the script name still needs to change. So I'm going to call this, rename this to animal movement. So now the animal movement is the file name, and it's also the one class name that's in here. So we just make sure that those two things sync up. And then if I go over here, oh, it's fixed it now. So animal movement on Roscoe the dog is up, down, left, right. Animal movement on Lucky the cat is WSAD. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is look into creating some UI for this two-player cat and dog game. So what we'll go over in the next video is adding text and adding buttons, and crucially, if you haven't covered this before, adding some events to buttons. So when you click a button, something actually happens.